You think happiness is the goal. You were taught that if you work hard enough, behave well enough, and give enough of yourself to others, happiness will arrive like a reward. So you chase it. You optimize your routines. You read the books. You follow the advice. You smile when you should. You show up when you are called. You give your time, your energy, your attention. And still, something feels hollow. You hit the milestone and feel nothing. You get the relationship, but you feel restless. You achieve what you said you wanted, and within days you are searching again, empty, anxious, confused. You were told happiness was the destination, but every time you arrive, the ground disappears beneath you. Here is what no one told you. Happiness was never designed to last. It was never meant to be a destination. It is bait, a biological trick, a carrot on a string that keeps you moving, striving, seeking. And the moment you make it your mission, you become a slave to it. Schopenhauer understood this centuries ago. He did not write about happiness as life was something to achieve. He described it as the temporary absence of suffering, a brief pause between desires. You want something, you suffer until you get it. You get it, the suffering stops for a moment. Then a new desire forms, and the cycle begins again. You're not chasing happiness. You're running on a treadmill of craving, and every time you think you have won, the speed increases. Let me show you where this plays out. You are at work. You finish a project you have been grinding on for weeks. You expect relief, maybe even pride. But within an hour, your boss is already talking about the next deadline. The moment of satisfaction you were promised never arrives, or it does for 30 seconds, and then it is gone. You do not feel accomplished. You feel behind again. That is not burnout. That is the structure of desire. Your mind is already generating the subsequent lack, the next gap, the next thing you need to feel okay. You were conditioned to believe that achieving the goal would bring peace. It does not. It brings a new goal. Now apply that to your relationships. You spend months trying to win someone over. You finally do. The chase is over. And then what? The excitement fades. The mystery is gone. You start looking for problems. You start wondering if this is really what you wanted. Or worse, you stay, but you stop feeling anything at all. You are together, but you are numb. You told yourself that being with this person would make you happy. But happiness is not a state. It is a fluctuation, a chemical reaction that fades the moment your brain adapts. Schopenhauer called this the pendulum. You swing between suffering and boredom. You want what you do not have, and when you have it, you stop enjoying it. That is not a flaw in you. That is the design. Now look at your social life. You get invited to something, you go, you perform, you laugh at the right moments, you engage, you leave feeling emptier than when you arrived, because you were not connecting. You were managing perception. You were trying to feel something by being around people, but the feeling never came, or it came for 10 minutes and evaporated. You have been taught that happiness lives in experiences, in connection, in doing the right things. It does not. Happiness is not found. It is produced temporarily by your nervous system and then withdrawn. What you are actually chasing is the next hit of relief from wanting. And every time you get it, your system recalibrates and you need more. You were raised in a system that profits from this. You were told that happiness is your right, your destiny, your purpose. And because you believed that, you have spent your entire life trying to construct it. You optimized your environment. You fixed your habits. You cleared your calendar. You set boundaries, or so you thought. And still you do not feel it. Not for long. Because happiness is not a construction project. It is a temporary chemical event that your biology uses to keep you hunting. Schopenhauer did not sugarcoat this. He said life is suffering, interrupted briefly by satisfaction, which itself becomes boring. That is the loop: desire, attainment, emptiness, new desire. The system is rigged, and the moment you stop trying to escape it and start seeing it clearly, everything changes. This is not pessimism, this is accuracy, and accuracy gives you power. Because once you stop chasing happiness as a goal, you stop being controlled by the people and systems that promise to deliver it. You stop handing your attention, your time, your energy to anything that says do this and you will finally feel good. You stop being managed by your own cravings. That is the first shift. You accept happiness. You stop organizing your life around it. You stop letting it be the metric. You stop believing that peace comes from getting what you want. Peace comes from seeing the game for what it is and refusing to play it on those terms. Now let me show you what happens when you continue down the happiness-chasing path. You become easy to control because anyone who can offer you the illusion of happiness now has leverage over you. Your employer gives you a raise, you feel suitable for a week, then the feeling fades and you need validation again. They give you a title. You feel seen. Then the title becomes norma and you are back to wanting. They do not have to respect you. They just have to keep feeding the loop. You stay, you perform, you comply, because you are still hoping the next thing will be the thing that finally makes you feel okay. It will not. Schopenhauer knew this. He said that life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. You are either suffering because you lack something, or you are bored because you have it. There is no third option. Not if happiness is your framework. Look at how this plays out with people. Someone gives you attention. You feel good. The attention stops. You feel bad. Now you're checking your phone. You are wondering what you did wrong. You are analyzing the silence. You have been conditioned to believe that positive feelings equal progress. It does not. Positive feelings equal dopamine, and dopamine fades fast. The person who can make you feel good has power over you, not because they are superior, but because you made feeling good your priority. Now they control the supply. Schopenhauer would say you are not desiring the person, you choose the end of your own lack. And the moment that lack is filled, the desire dissolves. You think you want the relationship. What you actually want is relief from wanting. And once the wanting stops, the relationship becomes boring. That is why people chase novelty. That is why people leave. That is why satisfaction is always temporary. The structure is the problem, not the person. Now, apply this to your self-image. You set a goal. Lose weight. Build muscle. Make more money. Hit the target. Will this change how you feel? It does not. You hit the goal and within days you are the same person, just with a different number on a scale or in a bank account. The feeling you were chasing does not live in the outcome. It lives in the pursuit. And once the quest is over, your system generates a new target. That is how you stay trapped. You think the problem is that you have not achieved enough. The problem is that you are using achievement as a proxy for happiness. And happiness is not a state you arrive at. It is a fleeting reaction that evolution uses to make you keep moving. Schopenhauer said that will is suffering. You want something. That creates tension. Tension is suffering. You get the thing. The tension dissolves. You feel relief. Relief is not happiness. It is the temporary absence of pain. And your mind immediately creates new pain by generating a new desire. Let me show you what changes when you stop chasing. You stop being reactive, because most of your reactions are just attempts to avoid discomfort or move toward pleasure. You feel insulted, you defend yourself. Why? Because defending yourself gives you a hit of relief. You feel ignored, you reach out. Why? Because contact gives you a hit of validation. But both of those hits fade instantly. And now you're back in the loop. When you stop optimizing for feeling good, you start optimizing for clarity. Clarity does not feel good. Clarity feels neutral, but clarity gives you leverage. Because your own cravings are no longer jerking you around. You see the pattern. You see how people use your cravings to manage you, and you stop participating. Here is a concrete example. Someone disrespects you in public. Your instinct is to respond immediately, to defend, to correct, because not responding feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is your system telling you that your status is threatened, and status affects your access to resources, or at least it did in the ancestral environment. So your body creates urgency. It creates emotion. It pushes you to react. But what happens when you respond? You enter their frame. You accept the premise that their opinion matters. You give them the power to evaluate you. Schopenhauer would tell you that your reaction is just your will asserting itself. Your will wants to be recognized. It wants to be validated. It wants the discomfort to stop. But the discomfort is not the problem. The problem is that you are still playing a game where other people's perceptions determine your internal state. When you stop reacting, you stop playing that game. The disrespect still happens, but it does not land, because you are no longer trying to feel good. You are trying to see clearly. Now watch what happens when you apply this to ambition. Most people are not ambitious. They are just uncomfortable with where they are. They call it ambition, but it is avoidance. They think the next level will feel better. It will not. It will feel the same because the discomfort is not coming from your circumstances. It is coming from your nervous system, which is designed to keep you striving. Schopenhauer said that happiness is the satisfaction of a need, but satisfying a need does not create happiness. It creates relief, and relief is not a sustainable state. The moment your need is met, your system creates a new need. That is why successful people are not happier. They are just more practiced at delaying gratification and tolerating discomfort. The feeling they were chasing never arrives. They just get better at functioning without it. Let me go deeper. When you stop chasing happiness, you stop being manipulated by narratives. Because most narratives are designed to sell you a feeling. Buy this, feel powerful. Do this, feel respected. Believe this, feel safe. But the feeling is always temporary, and the cost is always your attention, your time, your energy, or your money. Schopenhauer understood that the world is will. Everything is driven by craving. Your craving, their craving. The collision of a billion wills all trying to assert themselves. When you see that, you stop taking things personally. You stop believing that people are acting on principle. They are acting on craving, and craving is blind. It does not care about you. It does not care about fairness. It just wants. When you stop expecting people to operate on a moral framework, you stop being disappointed. You start seeing behavior as strategic, and strategy can be countered. Here is what most people miss. They think seeing the world this way makes you cold. It does not. It makes you accurate, and accuracy allows you to act effectively. When you stop hoping people will do the right thing, you stop being surprised when they do not. When you stop believing that your hard work will be rewarded with happiness, you stop feeling betrayed when the reward feels like nothing. You start acting based on leverage, not emotion. You start moving based on clarity, not craving. That is power, not the power to feel good. The power to act without needing to feel good. Schopenhauer did not promise you happiness. He promised you the truth. And the truth is that life is suffering, briefly interrupted by satisfaction, which quickly turns into boredom. That is the cycle. You do not escape it. You stop letting it control you. Now here is the integration. If you keep chasing happiness, you will always be managed. Managed by your employer, who knows if you will stay if they give you just enough validation. Managed by your relationships, where your need for connection makes you tolerable instead of valuable. Managed by your own mind, which will keep generating desires faster than you can satisfy them. You will spend your entire life reacting, reaching, hoping, and every time you think you have arrived, the ground will shift and you will be running again. That is not life, that is slavery. Slavery to your own nervous system. Schopenhauer called it the will to life. A blind, insatiable force that drives you forward with no destination. You think you are choosing your goals. You are not. Your biology is generating cravings and you're rationalizing them as purpose. But if you stop chasing happiness and start pursuing clarity, everything inverts. You stop being desperate. Desperation is just an unmet craving. When you stop needing to feel good, you stop acting like someone who needs something. And people sense that. They sense when you are not trying to extract validation. They sense when you are not performing. They sense when you are evaluating instead of being evaluated. That shifts the frame. Suddenly, you are not the one being tested. You are the one testing, not because you are playing games, because you are no longer playing the game where your worth is determined by how you make others feel. You are operating from a different framework, one where your internal state is not up for negotiation. Let me show you what that looks like. Someone challenges you. Usually, you would engage, you would explain, you would defend. But now you do not. Not because you are scared, because the challenge is irrelevant. You are not trying to win their approval. You are not trying to feel good by being right. You just let the challenge sit there, unanswered. And that silence creates pressure. Because they expected a reaction. Your reaction was going to give them supplies, validation, engagement, proof that their opinion matters. When you do not provide it, they are left holding their own discomfort. That is leverage, not manipulation. Leverage. Because you are no longer in their frame of reference. You are not playing the game they set up. You are standing outside of it, watching. Here is another example. You are in a relationship. Your partner is upset. They want you to fix it. Usually you would rush in. You would apologize, explain, soothe, because their discomfort creates your discomfort, and you want the discomfort to stop. But that makes you reactive. It makes you the emotional janitor. Now you do something different. You let them sit in it, not because you do not care, because their emotions are not your responsibility. They are feeling something. That is information. But it is not a crisis. When you stop treating every emotional fluctuation like an emergency, you stop being controlled by mood. You stop being the person who has to manage everyone else's internal state so that you can feel okay. That is not coldness. That is boundaries, real boundaries, not the kind you announce, the kind you enforce with silence and distance. Now watch what happens over time. The people who used to control you through emotion stop trying because it does not work anymore. The employers who managed you with validation stop getting the same return. The relationships where you were the emotional support system either recalibrate or end. And that feels uncomfortable because you were taught that being needed is the same as being valued. It is not. Being needed makes you valuable. Being valued makes you irreplaceable. And you only become irreplaceable when you are scarce. Schopenhauer would say that desire exists only in the absence of satisfaction. People do not value what is always available. They value what they might lose. When you stop being available, you stop being taken for granted, not because you are playing hard to get, because you are no longer organizing your life around their approval. Here is what that looks like practically. You stop replying instantly. You stop explaining yourself. You stop defending your choices. You stop filling the silence with reassurance. Every time you do one of those things, you are trying to manage someone else's perception of you. And managing perception is a full-time job with no payoff. Because even if you succeed, the feeling fades. They feel good about you for a moment. Then they forget, or they recalibrate and expect more. You are not building respect. You are building dependence, yours, not theirs. You become dependent on their approval to feel okay, and that makes you weak. Schopenhauer understood that the man who needs nothing is the most powerful, not because he has everything, because he has stopped letting his internal state depend on external conditions. Let me bring this back to the title. Schopenhauer reveals why chasing happiness leaves you feeling empty. Because happiness is not a product or a reward. It is a neurological event that fades as soon as it is triggered. You were sold a lie. The lie is that if you do the right things, you will feel good permanently. You will not. You will feel good briefly, then feel nothing, and then feel the next craving. That is the cycle. And the only way out is to stop making feeling good the goal. You accept happiness. You stop chasing it. You stop letting it be the metric for whether your life is working. You start optimizing for clarity, leverage, and autonomy. Those do not feel good. They feel neutral, but neutral is sustainable, and sustainable is powerful. Here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, stop trying to feel good. Stop optimizing for comfort. Stop explaining yourself. Stop seeking validation. Stop filling the silence. Just watch. Watch how much of your behavior is driven by the need to avoid discomfort or move toward pleasure. Watch how much energy you spend managing other people's perceptions. Watch how little any of it actually changes your internal state. This is not about becoming cold. This is about becoming clear. Clarity does not promise you happiness. It promises you leverage, and leverage is what separates the people who are managed from the people who manage. If you found this valuable, share it with someone who is still stuck in the happiness trap. Like this video if it gave you a new lens. Subscribe if you want more philosophy applied to power, frame, and reality. And if this hit you, write, "I am the strategist," once in the comments, just to mark the day your mindset changed. You are not here to feel good. You are here to see clearly. And once you see clearly, you stop being controlled by the very thing you were taught to chase. That is freedom, not happiness. Freedom